Alright, Sandy.
It's hard for me. I tried really hard.
It is so much fun for me, I can't even tell you.
I'm so uncomfortable. I'm so uncomfortable. I'm acknowledging my discomfort. I'm using it to grow.
Awesome though.
I'm
You did
using my
so
discomfort to
good
grow.
in some of those moments. You came up with some cool stuff. There's places I wouldn't have gone. You were like, I'm like, yeah, that was very good. Anyways.
Hey, if we're gonna go in those places that we don't want to go, this is my feedback. It's better to do it in here.
Yeah, that's right.
Alright, Sandy, give me something good. I saw.
I think she did a really nice job on asking about GFP, showed the savings, and ask him what does he think, what does he like, and then okay, how about inbound GFP as well?
Yep, positioning another opportunity for them to not only save, but for us to gain more packages along the way. So that's good. Molly, give me something good.
I just saw a lot of improvement since the last one. I think you did well in the last one, but when you really explained the slides and you could tell that you understood what you were talking about, so I think that was really good. And then I like how you set an agenda and you were very clear about what you wanted to address.
What do you think?
So I think that Annie did a really good job of embracing the supply chain that you guys did a while back, because she learned a lot from it, was able to learn even more about the customer, and then had really good ideas to put in and had good content, because good content makes the whole thing easier.
Do you think that supply chain helped you in this process?
Oh, definitely.
How so?
I wouldn't have had the solution ideas without it. I probably would have just given him a blanket QBP.
So it gave you some more ideas to bring to the table.
Definitely.
To open up some of that conversation.
Definitely.
Good. Okay.
And by knowing what, you can't build tension without knowing what is gonna make the person tense.
Yeah. That's right.
And I wouldn't know that without the supply chain.
So it's like our lawyer scenario, right?
Yeah.
You put somebody on the stand and ask them a question that you don't know the answer to, right?
Right.
The same thing. Yeah. Yes.
So knowing you from inside sales, I have to say, like, the ending, super impressed with two things. One, you just said no. A lot of people aren't willing to just go like, no.
I'd be like,
I mean, there used to
Well, I knew how much work it'd be to do 3 months of back pay, so I was like, no.
That was good because there used to be a supervisor that we worked with that you say something and then you just quiet and the first person to talk loses. You said no, you heard his frustration, and you said, well, why would I go and do this when you're positioning yourself for the future? But then he followed it up with, that's a problem for me. And the best thing you could have done was why? And then you aligned his needs of wanting to look good for his boss with your needs of wanting to gain their business and gain their trust without having to go back and reimburse 3 months worth of rebates. So I was really, really
And
impressed
John,
with that.
if she didn't ask why, what would have been the outcome of that? Or how would it have went different if she didn't ask why?
Credibility probably would have went down because then you're not really addressing what he's saying, and I think that would have given him a little bit less of a want to move forward with you and or wanting to present this to his boss when at the end of the day it looks bad on him.
Yeah, right. I mean, you're right, because now you're just blowing past whatever because you don't really care about what he has to say or the reason behind it. You're just moving on to the next thing.
And her line of "you found me" showed that it was him that went out and found her. It wasn't like she said, well, I came in here and talked to you. You said you could position as you found me and you brought me in and we worked to get you this.
Makes a big difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Big difference.
I was impressed, really impressive, seriously, really good.
All right.
Hey, real quick before we jump off that, just so that we, because that's objection handling. Okay, and I did that for a reason in the way I did it at the end, because there were a couple things there to learn from. One is exactly what you said. You met tension with tension, and you did it quickly and assertively, which was awesome. The why, I had to antagonize you or nudge you into the why, right? So that's the part, is when we go tension to tension, we're thinking, all right, I'm in fight. But you're only in fight until I start to come down a little bit from that. As soon as you've met me here and I'm starting to come down, you then have to figure out what's in my head. So that's where you're going to listen. obviously if I make a demand, you're gonna have to push, but you have to acknowledge the concern. So I can understand why you'd ask for that, but I'm curious, this has never come up before. Where is this coming from? So you're competing and then you're collaborating. The competing builds tension and builds credibility because they're like, this woman is not going to get pushed around. But the collaboration is because we both want this deal to work, right? So you have to figure out what's in me, and I don't think you thought that's what was going to come out. That I was having some emotional thing about my boss. It's not unrealistic. It's happened, right?
Yeah.
Genuinely,
I've been asked for a year.
That collaboration though on that right there is that you're right, it's an emotional thing, 'cause it's personal to him because he screwed up.
Yeah.
And he didn't want, we were just in a call 2 days ago, and the guys in the back said, your tech was in here, and somebody in our back here got a software update and lost all our information inside the thing, right? But you can't tell the owner that because he thinks it's you guys did it, and he's gonna go nuts on it. Did he not say that?
Yeah, he did.
I need you to take this bullet for me.
Right.
He did
So the
say
first
that.
thing is this little short Danny DeVito looking guy, and whatever, and he comes. First thing he did, you guys lost all of my contact. You know how long that's gonna take me to recover all that stuff?
When really they just never archived anything.
They never
so
saved anything,
realistically,
did they?
it's on them.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
Conwire asked for a rebill yesterday too.
Yes, and we were in there too. Same thing. I mean, it happens all the time. But the difference is that how do we turn and spin that around to make it to where it's going to be a good situation for both of us? Because if we don't give it, they're going to put it on us. But at the same time, if we put it on them, it's going to be bad for us anyway because they're probably the main contact that we deal with.
Yep.
So how do we collaboratively find the best solution that doesn't require us to go back and do some rebate for a freaking year?
Yeah.
Which we don't want to do.
That I refuse. I will say no every time.
That's that Leslie Lewis.
Exactly.
You.
All right, so
Leslie taught me.
She'd be like, nope.
all right, so question here: did she tailor the message to the audience, the shipping manager?
Yes.
How so?
Well, she kind of explained the slides. She said what it does. To me, that's.
But okay, all right, wait. To say what you said, that means if you're the CEO and you put up a slide and you explain what it does that truly mean that you tailored it to that?
Well,
Get some toothpicks. Get some toothpicks for your eyes, Sandy. Let's go. You ready? I know you're
I
tired.
got something. So
Go ahead, John.
specifically on the slide where you had like, I think it was Quantum View and Billing Center. Now, usually a manager, if they're not in accounting, they don't have anything to do with Billing Center, but because she's asking him questions after the fact, you showed how assisting her by going 3 wide, 3 deep and understanding what everyone's like role is, how helping her helped him. So I thought that was good because a lot of the times Billing Center doesn't, go to the owner or the manager, but you said, here's how it helped her, which in turn he was like, oh, thank God, because now she's not gonna be asking me a million questions. So I think that still catered and came back around to assisting him at the end of the day.
And it did come around there, but that's a learning moment, right? Because I got you to bring that piece out. So I was helping you with the Taylor piece there. Because what you were really telling me how is that was gonna benefit the other lady. And most times I'm gonna just go, oh, thank God, she's gonna leave me alone now, right? And we know that between each other, but you can't leave that to chance.
Yeah.
So how's that gonna help you? I mean, I know at first glance that seems like it just helps her, but that helps you too, right? And get the person to say how it helps them.
So, question on that, so from a tailoring standpoint, or even from kind of the build the pain, owner, sell value, GFP slide. What were her thoughts about that? She was doing inbound GFP.
Yeah, it was all good until I wasn't
So
sure.
he
who
says,
processes it.
so you threw out there that you could process it for them, so they wouldn't have to, their shippers wouldn't have to deal with that. Can that happen?
I don't know.
Depending on what
Can we
system
do that?
you're,
Wait, I
depending on
thought
what
we
system
did,
you're
'cause he-
using it.
Sending their labels, you mean?
So we want to process, say we want to make a GFP shipment here, and we're going to send them the labels. Can we do that?
Oh, I thought.
I had a customer who did it one time on UPS.com, and next time she said it didn't work. I wasn't there, she
No,
just
you
told
can
me.
process GFP on UPS.com.
Yeah, just no.
That's
I
a
think you can do-
non-issue.
I think you can do it
You
on
can process
campus.
GFP
But-
But can you do it from
Inbound though?
inbound?
Because
shipping?
it's
Right.
because it's
No.
location
Yeah, if you have
specific.
campus
So you can
shipping.
do
Right.
it through. What I would say is I would just send out the walkthrough of the vendors. I'd say when he said, "Well, my vendors don't know how to do that. We have simplified 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps."
Yeah.
That would have been like, "All right, well, no problem because I'm not with those guys. Here's a walkthrough that I can send to each of them, and then if they have a question about it, you can always contact X."
What else could you do
I
on
think-
top of that? What else?
How are they currently doing it?
Well, what else could you do on top of that? I mean,
You could have someone go out there and do a training.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like their account executive?
yeah. You can have a partner. You can have somebody out and say, "Hey, I got this customer. They're working on this inbound situation. Could you go out there and maybe, help them out because they're going to control this cost?" But you run into some certain situations with some of the other AEs because it's not going to be their.
Yeah, they're not gonna get any money from
So you're right. You could put some type of steps in place there. I mean, even if you print return an email or print labels and send them to them, I don't know if that's going to be.
That's kind of
I
like
think
what
you have to figure
monasteries
out how
doing.
many vendors we're talking.
So I guess the
And we can
point.
make an implementation plan together based on how the vendors are currently shipping.
There you go.
But are you interested?
Yeah.
So the point, I guess, to this is that if you're positioning that, you don't want to just throw things out there
Yeah.
and see if it sticks if you don't know if it's going to stick or not, right?
I think, can we just take a quick second and make sure that I understand a little bit about inbound GFP? I received an email from Frank about how they can do inbound GFP.
Okay.
And that's what I was going off of, and I think I've confused myself now, and maybe I should follow up with him and understand exactly more details, because I'm sure he should know more than I do.
So I would have to imagine that if a customer is going, you're going to give them their account number to ship for you, right?
Yeah.
You give them instructions or routing instructions to say, hey, instead of any freight shipments that are between 150 and 500 pounds,
Yeah.
I want you to send it through GFP. That could be a situation there.
Okay. So it wouldn't be him processing it?
No, it probably won't be
Yeah.
in process.
Because the email he had sent to, I don't want to throw anybody in the bus, but I just got confused.
And if there is, talk to Frank about it a
Yeah.
little more and just see if there's a situation. I just never done inbound GFP
Okay.
like that, so.
Alright, I'll double check and I'll see if it is, because if it is a solution,
All right.
They're-
We all-
they're-
we'd
all love to know
they're-
about
it, We all can
they're
learn,
currently
yeah,
somehow
absolutely.
shipping LTL, so they're rating LTL somehow.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
you have to figure out how they're rating LTL, and then that should translate to them rating
Yeah.
this GFP somehow. You just have to figure that out.
Okay.
Okay,
Cool.
I'm actually, so you said don't throw out something to see if it sticks. Don't you think to some extent, she had a well-founded basis for thinking that it's an opportunity, right? Hey, Frank brought it up as an idea, I see a lot of LTL coming inbound.
Yep.
And I know it's GFPable, I think that that's okay, like,
Mhm.
she still has to figure out, that, like, the implementation, like, so I don't think that she threw that out there to, like, I do think she threw it
I
out
think
there
it
with a
understood the
good,
solution.
enough of a basis, I
Yeah.
think.
No, you're right. I mean, there's a lot of times.
Because we'll never be able to vet everything.
There's a lot of times you're gonna put things out there to see if it's gonna be something of an interest, so you're right. I think what I meant was that if you're gonna put out the solution to do it, make sure that you know what the solution is versus just saying, hey, I think we can do it, I'm not sure on it. I obviously can find out, but it would be better if you just had it, if you knew the way to do it.
Yeah.
Hey, would GFP inbound be something that you'd be interested in? If they say yeah, then it's like, okay, good, because you know what, we can even do it two ways. We can either get the instructions out to them,
Mhm.
or we have a way to process it here. You can make the labels and do it this way.
Okay.
It's a little bit different than just being like, well, I don't know. Well, let me see if we can do it. Maybe we can do it inbound. Maybe you can do it here. I don't know yet. You know what I
It's
mean?
a great product, I just don't
No,
know.
you're right. You
And
do
I
that.
also don't want
You're
anybody to
right.
be afraid they don't have every single answer,
No.
right? Because because we know for GFP, whichever way it moves, the implementation is the stumbling block.
Yeah.
For everybody, almost every time, it's hard to do. So maybe in this instance, it's like, we know knowing that implementing it is usually like a little, but we know that the gain is good here. So he's gonna have to work with us.
Let me
with
go
that.
all sales training on you here,
Okay.
all right? What stage in the sales process is the inbound GFP at?
Are you going on me or on her?
I don't care, anybody.
Explore.
Is it? Do we know it exists?
Well, you won't know unless you explore and ask that question.
No, you're using the word explore as if you're reading out of Webster's.
You're saying we're
Okay.
still in the process.
That is that's the
We're
definition
still-
of the word explore, is to ask questions and to find out things.
The prospect,
Okay, so why do you say prospect?
Prospect.
because that's the very beginning before you dig deeper into it and explore. I'm
So,
picking back now.
so you don't know much about it.
Yeah.
You don't know really if they need it,
Oh.
but you would have to convince them to answer more questions about it in order to pursue it, right?
Yeah.
So if you're in prospect and you want to float the idea, we become insightful. So the insight here is, you know, you're saving a ton of money on GFP versus what you could be doing LTL. I'm just curious, why don't you try to save that same money inbound? Well, I'm not sure. No, I mean, I'm not even completely sure that inbound GFP is for you, but there are several questions here that I'd like to ask. Maybe during our QBR, it's not the appropriate time, but I'd like to come back, or I'd like to get this data, or I'd like this. Would you be willing to share that? Yeah, well, I'll share my inbound data with you, and then, yeah, I'll let you go ahead and come in and explore that. Now I just jumped into explore. I built credibility with what I said. My insight made them think, yeah, God, that is stupid that I'm not saving it there. So now I move over to explore, and now I get to ask my questions that determine, is this a really good solution? When that's done, the slide that would go up, I would expect to have all of that in there, the insight, the savings they're going to recoup, and then you darn sure by then better know how to implement that baby, right? So to your point, Molly, no, you don't, you guys are gonna have to wing it sometimes in these moments, but you're not being fair to yourself by not knowing where you're at in the process. You go try to rattle off 5 questions in the middle of that, and you'll lose the rest of your QBR. But if you intrigue them with the idea and go, yeah, we'll ask you some questions later, the whole time they're sitting there going, God, I can't believe how stupid I am. I haven't been looking at inbound GFP. I really gotta look at that. Okay? So,
All right, so 2 things. What 2 areas do we want to focus on here for next time?
Don't put a witness on the witness stand without knowing the route, right?
Not know the answers.
Right? Isn't that right? Isn't that like
Without knowing the route?
without knowing the path that you're gonna go down, so without knowing the answers. So
Yeah.
like that one issue with
So
processing.
how do we sum that up as far as?
Don't put a rogue witness on the stand.
No,
Yeah.
I don't need that. Like, how do we make this
You don't
into
need a
a
tagline for
behavior?
everything?
How do we make this into a behavior? What behavior change do we want to look for?
Just know the product and or solution that you're bringing to the table. So be able to speak to it if they have a question like, can we do it inbound? And go, I don't know, I think maybe. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, but I don't know if I want to go. I mean, so obviously she's just gonna have to know the knowledge of what
Right,
that's
the
there.
functionality of it and the use of it.
But what else can we? So what we did before was we tailored a message to the audience and we tried to build pain and donor self-value. Is there anything else that we could do for an improvement standpoint that we could work on for next time?
she could align her conversation with the right stage of the sales process.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
So evaluate where you're at with the opportunity and make sure the slide acts appropriately.
Align solution to sales process. Is that what you just basically said, or no?
Align the conversation with the right
Right,
purpose.
stages.
Align the conversation with where the opportunity is at in the sales process.
All right. And what else? One more thing. what about did we do any type of, did you do any type of war story, anything that kind of helped with the capitals?
I did a war story here with the Capitol.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a little one. I could make the war story more intense.
You were story throughout.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
you
know.
did a good
Talk.
job.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
You talk in a very compelling way. It all seems story based. I didn't get any generic crap out of you anywhere in there. It was all very nice.
You were you.
So what
Yes,
we're
very
gonna, what we're
nice.
gonna do is we're gonna just leave it as this one, and then when we go back and do the individual and review, and we talk about it and then come back to the group, then we'll see if there's anything else that comes out of it. Because once we watch it again, there might be something that establishes itself, okay?
Okay.
And you might see something in there that when you do the individual review, that you may wanna work on, and then maybe when we go through it, we'll see something else.
Sure.
All right. Good deal, thanks.